How can seniors reduce their fall risk when they're out in the community? I think one of the biggest things that you can do is simply plan your trip ahead. You need to note if there's any fall hazards that's going to be happening. And the way I like to do this is to think about the venue I'm going to, think about the parking lot, think about if there's any steps, think about if there's any curbs. Think about what are you going into? Is there going to be an elevator that I'm going to be able to use? Or is there going to be an escalator? Or is there none of that and you basically have to walk up this giant hill? That's going to be a huge thing when you're trying to plan your trip ahead. So just note some of those fall hazards. Bring a walker or cane if needed. Better safe than sorry, and especially with something like a cane that's pretty transportable. You can always bring it, and if you decide you get to the venue, you don't need it, okay, then you don't need it. You just don't use it. But also, too, you could bring a walker that's collapsible and a little easier to transport around. Super simple way to hopefully reduce the risk of falls in the community. And then I kind of already touched on this, but mapping out your route and kind of knowing exactly where you need to go and exactly where you want to go can make it much easier to reduce the risk of falls, because you're not going to be rushing to get everything done. You're not going to be rushing to get to your venue really quickly. You're going to know exactly where you're parking, where you're going to, and ultimately where you need to go. So we're kind of taking out some of the rush factor of it. And rushing is a huge reason for falls because, of course, the faster you rush, the less time you're thinking, and the less time you're thinking, the more time you have to fall, unfortunately. So another thing too is medication. So there are certain medications for older adults and seniors that may make you dizzy or make you tired, maybe can't make you think quite as well. So taking those before, then also realizing what effect they have, because you obviously don't want to be taking a certain medication like that when you're going out into the community for a long period of time. Because that's obviously at an increased fall risk if you take a medication like that. Giving plenty of time, super crucial. And then have an emergency plan. Of course, we don't want to talk about emergency plans, but it is something that you should consider. So do you have your phone charged and on you? Do you have Life Alert or some type of emergency contact available in case you do fall? Are you going with a loved one or somebody you trust? These are all things that you need to have in the back of your head and in the back of your mind in case, God forbid, you're going grocery shopping and you fall in the middle of the grocery store, or even worse, maybe out in the parking lot. What happens next? What happens next? Are you just going to yell and hope for the best, or do you have your phone on you? Are you going with somebody? Does somebody know you're going to the store? These are all things to consider when reducing the risk of falls out into the community. Go ahead and give this video a like if you're providing some value from it so far.